Shrikant, I'm unable to hear you. Yeah, now I'm able to hear.
Yeah, I think I mean there is some problem with Mac. I think I need to open that thing all the time. Let me see if I can switch over the audio.
Now it's clear, Shrikant.
I can keep it open. Okay, let's see. Need to move the screen. Okay. Yeah, so let's go through the data types a little bit. I mean, we talked about we started with class. So, I mean, we basically, we went little deep into the class. Why the moment you guys asked, okay, what is the real-time scenario? Why do we need to do these things? We will come back to those classes and objects again in the next classes. But I mean, now at least you understand that, okay, so there are some business scenarios where if you want to do some mass actions, potentially you should be writing some classes and all. And we invoke them basically by calling the class name itself. There will be different scenarios. Let's say if someone is updating a record and you want to fire the same class, and so that's where we triggers will come into picture, and we will talk about those in the next class. For today, let's focus on the other data types. I mean, class is little objects and all, so that is little maybe advanced one, I would say. But let's start with some primitives. Salesforce has some, I mean, at least 8 or 10 data types that, I mean, when you actually create a field, you would actually notice that, okay, there is a Boolean, I mean, checkbox field, there is a number field, currency field, and maybe the string field, I mean, text or long text, all those fields. So there are different types of fields that you create. I mean, behind the scenes, everything is a data type. And I mean, especially if you, even if you create an ID field, the lookup field, so that is a type of ID in Salesforce. Everything is behind the scenes, there is a data type. And if you want to call that one or reference that one, so you have to potentially declare same kind of variable and to store the value or store the value of that particular thing that into a variable. So at that time you have to define those kind of things. And again, so same thing, syntax all the time. So we have to say what is the data type, and whatever the variable that you want to call, and if at all you want to assign some value while defining, you would typically use the equal sign and assign it. So that's typical syntax in any, I mean, some languages may be doing little differently. Sometimes you say variable name and data type, but Salesforce data type variable assignment, that's how it works. And so here, I mean, there is a Boolean data type. And if you want to call, so I mean, if you want to define a Boolean, so basically you say Boolean means just true or false kind of thing.
Shrikant, if you don't mind, can you maximize a little bit?
Let me try. Yeah, anything better now?
Yeah, little better.
Let's see.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, so yeah, so I mean, right here we are defining a Boolean. I'm calling that one as a winner and then setting a value to true. And if you, I mean, yeah, and later I realized, Swati, I think you were the one that didn't see the execute anonymous, right?
Yeah, Shrikant. I still somehow don't see it.
Can you do this thing? I mean, when you scroll down and up, if you scroll little up all the way, see if you see that thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that.
Here,
too.
as I scroll down, I don't see
Yeah.
this. But if I,
When you go up, you saw it, right?
yeah.
Yeah, someone, I'm not seeing it, Shrikant.
Okay, I mean that one is kind of recent one. I mean you just install CLI, you just install that stuff. And
Acha, okay.
I'm not sure why you can't see it. I mean that's when yesterday when I was trying something, then I noticed. Earlier I always used to select that guy and potentially go here and do that stuff. But I mean it's a really handy one. But I mean at least you can still do the thing. How I mean
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean here basically whatever I'm saying, so I'm just calling that one in a system.debug. And again, I mean very simple thing. So if you execute this guy, obviously in the output you should be able to see the same thing whatever we are writing to console. And here basically since we simply assign a variable and we put some text and we are writing that value, that's what you are seeing it here. I mean,
So, Shrikant, over here, the output, like, I mean, it's kind of a little confusing to see the output exactly. So, unless it's not exactly to the end of the output, right? It is somewhere in the middle.
yeah, I mean, if you see here, it starts, actually, let me clear this guy. Actually, there is a way to clear. Let me see. Yeah, I don't think I can clear. Maybe I may need to reopen. Yeah, but basically, if you see here, so started up. So this is the time. So 2010. I mean, this is the 8 or 9. So that's when I. And initially, first whatever we are calling, so it has to compile onto Salesforce server. It is not running really on our local instance. It has to go run on the Arc, whatever that Arc. I mean, this dev Arc, and it basically then it executed. And here, first it writes whatever that the code that we selected.
Oh, got it.
Those are the 3 lines that it executes, and then it starts writing that stuff. I believe there is another way. I mean, maybe next class I will show you, or maybe at least send on video. There is a way to split all this thing and potentially show only what you want. I think. If I can find that video, I think it was. I mean, mostly on the debug side. As you execute, basically, it is going to spit out something onto the console. That may be helpful, but at least for you, whenever there is system.debug, all you have to do is just look for, I mean, select, always it should be user debug. If you say control F, potentially if you can find, you should be able to find that thing. Where exactly you wrote that thing. I mean, obviously, since I did not, I mean, this is all, I mean, this is the latest one. So that's how it shows. And these are the things, I mean, because Salesforce run on that multi-tenant, all that stuff. I mean, these are the, it is giving some information, how many circles that you used, how many DMLs that you used, all that stuff, and also CPU, heap size, all that stuff will come into the picture whenever there are some problem. So these things will come handy for a developer to take a look at if there is a problem.
Got it.
So then, I mean, there is Boolean. I mean, obviously, every system, I mean, every software will have date fields. And so date, whenever you want to create a date or assign a date, typically this is how you assign. There may be multiple ways. And I'll also, I mean, maybe I will share these things with you guys. I mean, definitely I just picked everything from Salesforce uh, uh, developer website. And there are multiple ways you can invoke date functions. So you can pass, if you see create instance, new instance. So you should be able to pass some values, and based on the values, it assigns the value. So here we are passing some, we are telling, okay, 1960 year, February 17th. So that's how it is going to create the date. So that's exactly how I used. And if you want to increment on the date by 2 days, I mean, you may be thinking why we need all these things. Slowly, you will see these things in real use case. Typically, in business scenarios will be like that, like these things. So whenever, let's say, you creating an opportunity, business will say, okay, hey, every time we create an opportunity, the close date should be maybe a month from now. So that's how the requirements will be. And they don't want their users to set the date. They want a little bit of automation to come into picture, and the automation should set that close date to maybe 1 month from today, or maybe next month last working day, or next month last day of the next month, something like that. Business requirements will come. So those are the times you start writing some triggers, and you have to use these date functions. First, you have to calculate, okay, what is today's date, and maybe potentially go to next month, and then add, find the last day of that next month, and then assign. Once you calculate that guy, so potentially then you will see opportunity. You will go to that opportunity object, and then you find that close date field. So, and then you assign a close date field value, whatever you are going to calculate. I mean, that's how the business requirements will be, and that's where these date functions and all. So you will need to use those things. I mean, if you really want to understand why we have to do all these things. Okay.
The very first statement, right? It says date dot new instance and then a date, right?
Yeah.
So what does that? I mean, like, I know it's a syntax, but what does new instance mean?
It's a method on that thing. So typically, if you see here, there are a lot of methods that you can call. So if you want, if you have a date, and if you want to add some dates to that, whatever the date that you have, and use that one. So these are all the date methods. So there
Okay.
will be a lot of methods, and you don't want to re-engineering all these things. So
Okay.
because any software would give you a lot of these inbuilt functions, and to make your job little easy. Okay.
Okay.
So you have to pass the values in the way, because it is all there, since they are giving it to you, they
Okay.
you to pass these things in certain way. And if
Okay.
you want to get today's date, basically you just call date dot today, that will give you today's date. And potentially, if you say, hey, 30 days from today, all you do is date dot today plus add days, and you pass that integer. If you see this guy, add days, additional days, and additional days, you have to they are asking you to pass an integer. So you can't pass hours or anything. It has to be an integer, and the moment you pass that some number, it increments your date by some days. So that's exactly what they are doing here. You call the instance, and you pass that, okay, hey, I want to set the date to 1960 February 17, and then you want to, he's trying to increment that one just by 2 days. And if you see here, first they are defined a variable here, and then they are using this guy, and adding 2 days. You can simply also do date dot instance this guy, and then dot add days too. So that will also work the same way it is. So sometimes some clients, so they don't want you to just create variables just for the sake of creating, even though it looks clean from the looks of it. Sometimes if you create more and more variables, it may be it may impact some performance and all. So that's why sometimes you may, they may not want you to use some variables, and they may ask you to clean up the code. So, it may be, if you see here, I may have used something here. So the same thing. So date dot today, I'm going today, and basically that gives you today, and then I'm adding 1 day, so that is going to give me tomorrow's date. And especially here, if you see, even the integer, it can also take negative values. And if you want to go for past, this is how you do date dot today, and you are adding one minus day. You are adding one day negative, that is going to take you to the past basically. If you simply execute this code, Yeah, so here, I mean, that is the initial date. I mean, it is also adding the time value, even though we are talking about date. And so there is another thing. Usually, I mean, if you see these things, potentially this is putting all this in GMT. And the moment you say format, it is basically going to show the date in the local format of the user. So if because we usually set our time zone to US time, and that's why it is writing February 17th, 1960. But whereas in my org, if I go back and update my settings saying, okay, India time zone or those things, immediately it will show 17 to 1960. I mean, those are the things. The software or Salesforce in this case gives you all those functionality. All you have to do is you have to know which function you have to use all that stuff. If you see here, returns a date as a string using the locale of the context user. Context user means the user who is running the thing, and locale means basically that time zone and all those things. I mean, you know, potentially, I mean, when you run into something, all you have to do is basically uh, just go for this Apex reference guide, and that's where, I mean, all these classes and all, so they gave you to use it, kind of. So, okay. Any questions there? I mean, I'm very straightforward thing. We are just creating a date, and we are either incrementing or decrementing. That's all we are doing. And here we just converted into a string, and yeah. And especially when we are showing the date on the UI, I mean, most of the times you may want to use this date format. That way, it will show exactly the same way the business user wants it on the UI.
I could also write today dot add days, right? Just I mean, instead of date dot today dot add dates, I could because
Let's try date.
because you already assigned today.
Oh, okay. Here you are saying, yeah.
Yeah, so I can just do today dot
Yeah,
add days, right?
definitely that should work because we defined the variable. And
Yeah, okay. Yeah, just mark it. That's fine.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So some clients, they don't want you to define these kind of variables.
Yeah, exactly. Because you have already defined, why not use the variable?
Yeah, I mean, but they don't want you to define also. I mean, I
Got
have
it.
clients where they say, so now, okay, let me take this guy and put it here. That way I can only execute these two lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now it moved to tomorrow, 5:25.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So then, I mean, that is date. And again, so there is a time class. So for time class, I mean, same thing. If you go here, typically it will explain how to use the time class. And same like date class, time class also has that new instance. And for new instance, you just pass hour, minute, seconds, and milliseconds, and that will make a time for you. And once you have that, potentially then you update that one. And this is another thing. I mean, you will see a lot of times Salesforce documentation. You will see this system assert equals. I mean, these are the things that we use in the test classes when we. I mean, for every Apex class that we write, we have to write the code coverage so that we can deploy. And those are the times where we use this assert equals and maybe some system dot assert, a lot of functions there. And so that's where you say, okay, hey, there is this expected date, and you pass what is actual value, what is expected value, and if there is something wrong, so what is the output that you want to write. Those kind of things you will write. And so especially in the test classes, you will see this thing, but for most of the development time, we typically use system.debug. And also, I mean, for production ready code, I mean, ideally you shouldn't be putting any system.debug statements in production code. So I mean, these are just for your testing thing as you are writing something, I mean, code. you would write these things, but ideally you shouldn't be taking this into production. You have to clean up on those things.
So, quick question there. It agreed that we shouldn't be using system.debug while deploying code to production. This system.assert equals, right? Even such statement shouldn't be there, correct?
No, this one, when you write test classes, you need those things. So this one, what it is saying, whenever you write test classes, I mean the Apex class that we wrote, right? So that guy, you cannot deploy this class to production. Where is that guy? Apex class, you cannot. I mean, for sandboxes, you may be able to deploy, but if you want to deploy this to production, you need a test class that will cover the code coverage. I mean, that will gives you a code coverage. Code coverage means that test class, when you run that one, it has to go through this code, and basically it will say at least 75% of these lines it has to cover. Let's say if I have a if command or if condition, potentially sometimes maybe we may not be able to cover all conditions at that time. Maybe we can skip one or two lines, but so bottom line is, if there is no 75% at least code coverage, Salesforce will not let you deploy the code to production. So I mean, those are the times. Not only code coverage, I mean, a lot of times people just write code coverage. Code coverage is important for deployment sake, but the testing, the actual testing, the way it was written here, so that is more important. So whatever the expected value, whatever the I mean, based on the conditions that you write, this expected value, checking this expected value versus checking the actual value, so is very important. At that, I mean, there you are really checking the functionality. If you write some class, some method, and you write a test class, and if someone else comes and add some condition, and if when they run the test class, if it fails, potentially that itself right there tells, okay, there was some existing functionality that the new developer is broken. So kind of, I mean, broke the new code. I mean, broke the functionality by bringing the new code. I think we talked about this. Potentially, that acts as some regression kind of thing for us.
Srikanth, follow-up question. So this statement, assert equals, is like, basically whatever you have in the parentheses, it's going to compare both these values. And if it's equal, it means that, the test passed, right? So in the test classes, assume that you have these asset classes, the code coverage, whatever you call. How does it, every time we run, right? Like, as long as you have that statement, is it fine? Or, when you run your test run in, lower environments, should it go through it once and satisfy all those conditions? Is that how it determines?
So basically, we wrote this class, right? I mean, class and method last class. What did we do? So I mean, potentially, if at all there is any method, I mean, there is any contact that has email address which is not dummy, we are just adding dummy to that one. That's the functionality that we added.
Right.
So now what the test class that is going to cover this thing, it will create a contact with without email address, I mean, with email address not having the dummy in front of it. Then we run this method, and because of this DML statement, it is going to add the dummy. Now when the assert, what it will do, it will again first it will, when we created the contact without the dummy, and then we run this method, and then we retrieve the contact email address again, and then we check, okay, hey, now after running this method, whether I am able to get able to add the dummy to that contact or not. That's the true test that we do, and that's the expected. We say dummy, I mean, contains it is dummy, and the actual also we get the actual value from the database. And now when we compare it, it has to match. If it doesn't match, basically the test method, it didn't work properly, and that gives an indication that, okay, some functionality is not working as expected. That's the test class. Potentially we will write the test class when we are working on the test, maybe the same scenario that I said. That way you understand it clearly.
Okay, yeah, we can take it later. Yeah.
So yeah,
Is there anything that would generate those kind of classes, Shrikant, or is it something that we have to write every line of code?
and developer has to write. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean, once you see it, you'll understand it is not that complex. But right now, I mean, I'm just talking, I mean, without even writing. That's why
Yeah. Got it.
I mean, not too much, but little hazy right now. But you will see it soon. So yeah, so I mean, right here, I mean, it is. Let's run this guy, and we will go through that here. So what we are saying, we created an instance, we set some time, and again, I mean, if you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4, 2, 3, 4. We are just adding 3 hours. That's what we are doing. I mean, you can see this thing, right? There is my time. That my time is 1 hour, 2 minutes, maybe 3 seconds, and 4 milliseconds kind of thing. That's that first variable. And second variable, all we did was we incremented it by 3 hours. I mean, from here. The third one, what we did, so basically we expected, we added 3, since we added 3 hours, 1 plus 3, so that becomes 4. And since we added my time 3 hours, that should become equal to this 4 2 3 4. So that's exactly what they are testing here. So if we run this guy, immediately it will say success. So yeah, here, so assert equals to this thing, and since it is success, it didn't say anything. So now what I do, so basically I will change it to 4. Intentionally I'm forcing this one, my time, to increment to 4 hours. That becomes 5 hours, 2 minutes, 3 seconds, 4 milliseconds. Now if I execute it, potentially it will throw an error, and it will directly write it to the console here. So I mean, that's exactly how the test classes that we are going to write. You see here, so fatal error, system.assert exception, and expected 4 hour this thing, and it is basically saying actual is 5 hour thing. And so that's exactly how it is going to show. And immediately it will, I mean, the test method, whatever you are going to write, that will fail, and immediately I mean, it will stop you from deploying the code to production. I mean, when we write the test class, if these kind of scenarios will come, immediately it will stop, because I mean, that is for a good reason. You don't want to break some existing functionality in production. And I mean, sometimes what people do, I mean, some crazy things to avoid. All we have to do is you write a lot of code in the test class, you get the code coverage. I mean, you see that, okay, everything is looking good. But when you, so since all they do is just kind of comment out this thing. So immediately, I mean, I have seen these kind of things. Just to make deployment to happen, if they comment out that asset, you still have the code coverage, but you know, the developer knows he's breaking the functionality just for the sake of making the deployment success. I mean, they do this kind of thing, but that is actually very bad thing on the developer side. They have to fix the thing, so they have to see what is the functionality that they're breaking, and they have to fix actual thing instead of just doing this kind of thing. I mean, I have seen it, that's why I'm telling. So,
Dev, Salesforce is forcing the dev to do QA work too.
what is it?
Salesforce is forcing the developer to do the QA work too, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, so this is all, I mean, every software now moving towards this TDD,
Test driven.
I mean, that is a developer responsibility. I mean, Salesforce is, I think, one of the first software that adapts that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, very nice thing. I mean, we cannot test everything, right? Maybe let's say as you build a lot of functionality, there is no way we can ask our QA team to test all that stuff. What QA team would do, they do a lot of automation. But on top of what QAs do, let's say there is a small company, they can't have these QAs. I mean, they can have developer because they need something to be delivered. but not every company can afford to have QS. So, but QS are very important. And I mean, obviously, these kind of things, if you break something, someone has to catch it. I mean, maybe sometimes in Apex level, server code level, we can catch it with these test classes, but we do write a lot of UI enhancements also. So not everything can be tested. I mean, technically you can write test classes for each and everything, but those are very complex writing test classes for the UIs. But at least server level, Salesforce definitely force you to have enough code coverage. But they are not doing that kind of mandate thing on the client side code. But client side code, I mean, once you have enough experience, it should be easy. But I mean, I myself don't even know. I haven't written any test classes for the front end. But I mean, we have developers. I mean, they do it. So that's the time. I mean, we have seen date, we have seen time, and there is a date time. I mean, obviously, without this thing, I mean, every time we talk about time, so it is always date time. So there is another class date time. Again, same thing. I mean, if you see the documentation, I believe this one has multiple in date instance, and you can pass variables a little differently in date in new instance. Yeah, so new instance, you can pass milliseconds, you can pass date time, you can pass year, month, day. So there are multiple ways. I mean, if you see a method with same name and if it has multiple things, basically, however you pass the data, based on that, system knows which method it has to invoke. So those are the things, I mean, you will understand over the time as you see the documentation. I mean, this is very important. Based on what you pass, the corresponding method will be invoked. And here, I mean, this long text one, so it is passing just that seconds in milliseconds. So this is this guy. So new instance milliseconds. If you pass that guy, I mean, potentially it creates that one. And then here we are passing the date, year, month. I mean, date, month, year, date, month, date. Sorry, year, date, year, month, date, and then time. So if you see here, year, month, day, and so this guy. So basically, the second one must be using when we invoke, it is going to invoke this guy and gets us. I mean, everything will return the same thing. So date time. Return type should be date time. Whatever, however you call, the end of the day, it has to return the date time thing. So that's how it is going to return. But based on whatever you have, so you pass the value accordingly, it will work. So I take a pass. I mean, potentially all we are doing is using some predefined classes to define the variables here. I mean, here, if you see, I mean, everything is same, still same variable. I mean, the data type, variable name, and then you are adding the value by calling some methods of predefined classes. And these are just the assertions.
So the long value that you have keyed in, that is being converted into date time, right?
No, that is in milliseconds. So the first one, if you see here, the milliseconds.
Okay, one parameter means just milliseconds, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, got it. Yeah. Yeah.
And same thing, I mean, if we invoke this thing, I mean, simply take these guys, execute it. I mean, you will see all these things. I mean, you will be able to clear anything, any doubts or anything. I mean, even if you see most of these things, I simply copy pasted and get these things ready. So that, I mean, I can even copy these things as I'm talking in the class, but I thought maybe it will be easy if I have it something ready handy. And if here, if you see, I mean, I'm creating here what I did, date time, new instance, and there is this guy, date time, new instance, date time. So I'm using this guy. So it is taking date and also it is taking time. we already saw how to create date field, I mean date value by doing this thing, and we already saw time by calling time new instance. So that's exactly what I used here. So I to pass the date, I mean, as a parameter, instead of, I mean, I could have created one variable and then use that variable here. Instead of that, I'm just at runtime, I'm creating that variable value and passing that one to the method. So that's how I constructed this thing here. I mean, very straightforward. I mean, you are going to see, especially when you are when you have to work on somebody's code, you will see all sorts of things. So somebody might write variables. Sometimes somebody will write these things here. Um, yeah, just so that you are aware. I mean, I want you to be aware that you will see all sorts of code, especially if the client doesn't have lot of best practices, or maybe they don't mandate the things on the developer. You will see all these things, and it is very hard to mandate all these things on the developer, saying, okay, hey, all the time create developer or don't create variables, all those things. And it is all most of the time it's going to be developer choice, and maybe whatever works for you, so just use it. But I mean, I won't expect you to write a lot of I mean define a lot of variables just for the sake of defining. Yeah, these kind of things would look little clean since you are not going to use a lot of variables. And I mean, obviously never ever use the debug statements. At least whenever you feel comfortable it is ready, then take out all the debug statements. You don't need them. And especially on the JavaScript side, you will see a lot of console.log statements. So those are, I mean, on the browser console, you will write, you will see those things. And those are also not very good things to show the logs, developer logs to the end users. I mean, end users can simply right click and inspect, and then they can see whatever the console dot statements that we write. I mean, console dot log statements, they won't show to the end user if they open the browser, do it. But if they inspect the page and if they see that thing, they can actually see all those things. I mean, sometimes developers keep those same thing. I mean, if they are not going to be very useful for you, please don't keep it. And I think there's date parse. I mean, you can pass a text value also. Here I'm not actually passing the actual value. This is you see here, this is string. Whenever there is something in the string, that means I mean, in the quotes, that is string. And technically it shouldn't take, I mean, if I take date.new instance and if I pass this guy, it won't take it. And that's where we have to use this parse statements. So parse, and yeah, especially if you see here, when you hover it, so it is showing, it is going to return, I mean, this is the return type, the function, and date time dot parse, and it is expecting a string. So whenever you use parse method, you have to pass the string, or the other way, if you have a requirement where you are getting the date in the form of string, and if you need to convert it into date time, so you have to basically use these functions. I mean, all of them would be here. It's a matter of us understanding based on our requirement which method to use all that stuff. So, and here they are showing the time in GMT time, and these guys will show local time zone, whereas this guy will show on the all the GMT things. Okay. So that's I mean the
1 second, Shrikant. So over here, date time string, date and time string, right? This the and you have a comma in between, right?
date where
Date time dot parse, and then you have within the quotes you have date comma time, right?
Mhm.
So it considers the entire thing as a string, correct? And then converts that into date time format. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we can, I mean, here this format, I think it will take this guy as GMT time, and then I believe it will convert into the local time. So let's run this guy.
My actually my question is like, does it matter whether you have a comma or it doesn't matter, right?
I believe it matters. I mean, in order for you to check that one, it is very simple.
No, I'll check it. No, I don't want you to, but I was just
Most likely it shouldn't take it, but we can just try.
because it's saying it's a string. So
Yeah, see here, invalid date time. It is throwing an error basically.
no.
Line 8. Yeah, and actually, I mean, if you see, I mean, especially in the debug, when you see the moment we execute this guy, it throw an error and immediately it will add a squiggle here. So that means the problem is at that line. And
Oh, okay.
now immediately the moment we add this guy, next time when you execute it, and that squiggle should go away because there is no compilation problem with that line of code. So
Okay, so the string has to be in a certain format.
yeah, I mean, everything, I mean, because you are using their code and I mean, we have to pass the way that the method is expecting.
Okay.
So, Shrikant, if I just give only till date, right? Datetime dot parse, and I just put the date in quotes without any, yeah. So then it should just do the, it should still give date time, but I think it should put 00 in time.
Let's try. I mean, I'm not very sure. Yeah, looks like it took it. So, oh no, actually there was a problem there.
There is an issue.
So yeah, invalid date time. It is we only.
So it is expecting even time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's where reading the documentation becomes very critical. I mean, we don't, I mean, nobody is going, I mean, we can't expect to know all this syntax. The moment, I mean, especially with this editor, yeah, then it is very handy. The moment you start typing,
Yeah.
immediately it will show when I had a parse and immediately it will, I mean, here it is not giving, but it will immediately show you what kind of format you pass, all that stuff. If not always, I mean, we can go here, we can find most of the time some examples. So you just pick the example, use it. What is this date and class? That should be parse date string. And if you click on that guy, so potentially it will show you how you can pass the data. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
So that's some of the
Actually, 1 second over here. Like, if you're seeing 8, right? Debug in the output.
Yeah.
It says 2011, 10, 14, 1646.
This guy, yeah. So I mean, if you see this guy, I mean, this is going to go to GMT format. Right now, I'm passing 11, and it is setting it to GMT. So my local time is 11, or no, actually, it is taking this guy as GMT time, and when you convert GMT or one way or other. So basically, if my time is 11, 16, it has to add that 5 hours for GMT. I think.
Oh, okay.
Basically,
But I thought dot format will give you the GMT, right? Without.
yeah, I see. Let's see. Here, where is this? Parse. Construct the date time from a given string in local time zone, and in the
Format of the user local.
so basically, this guy is giving us. I mean, you pass the value, and it is going to give you the return. It is going to give you. You pass the GMT. I mean, you are passing GMT here.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
And that since it is 11 in GMT, is it going to be 16 hour time or the other way?
Yeah, +5, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, ours is -5, right? If it is 11 there, our time should be -5.
I mean, as per the output, it is actually adding 5.
Yeah. So it is. So here 11:46. See this format. The format actually is giving you the exact time. So we are passing the current time.
Correct.
Yeah,
Passing the local time, right? And it's giving you the GMT.
yeah, we are passing the local time. Yeah, so yeah, you're right, Kishore. So we are
Yeah.
passing the local time, and the return is GMT, basically return in GMT, basically.
Thank you.
The moment we add format, basically it is giving you the exact local format. So yeah, that is some of those primitives. And now let's see object. I think we talked about objects. I mean, especially classes are nothing but objects. Let's talk about some. I mean, there is everything in Salesforce is object. Okay. So whether it is integer, boolean, everything potentially we can assign to object. I mean, syntax is same. Data type we are calling that guy as object, and I'm just naming a variable called the object, and then I'm assigning some integer to this guy. And now when I invoke an integer and I want to assign this object to this thing, it won't take it. So if I say just assign, even though you think, okay, hey, I assign value 10, and in JavaScript, I believe it automatically dynamically it understands what is the thing and all. I mean, in JavaScript, you don't even give a data type, but here you have to tell explicitly when you are assigning to integer, you have to tell that. So now if I execute this guy, it will throw an error saying, okay, it cannot convert this thing. See here, illegal assignment. Illegal assignment from object to integer. So this is where the typecast comes in. So this you are explicitly saying, okay, hey, I have this object and I want to convert that into integer. So if you anywhere you see this guy integer or data type in the brackets before assigning, that is called typecasting, basically.
What's the shortcut you use?
What is that?
What's the shortcut you use to get the integer? Did you
Here?
Did you use an?
No, actually I had this guy. I just used Control Z.
Oh, okay. Controls. Okay, okay.
I just deleted it. It gives me back.
Okay.
So here basically I use the typecasting. I mean, we have object. In order for us to convert this object into integer, I have to use this guy, and that is called typecast. And you will see these things in the code most of the places. Okay, so now when I execute this guy, it should work fine. So
See, the type of object is being converted into integer and assigning it to the integer variable.
simple. So now, I mean, here we have this class. Basically, this is the class we created. And for that class, I mean, I assigned it to object. And I mean, I'm calling that variable as object class. And so we are basically, we instantiate that guy. And now, again, I'm calling another class. Basically, the same thing. I'm calling like regularly how we call. And now, I mean, we have to typecast because it is an object. It can't, I mean, if I remove this guy, obviously it will throw error, same error, illegal assignment of object to some class or something, it will throw that error. Now, again, we have to typecast that guy. I mean, it's the same thing. So here it is integer, here it is the class. Basically, just to show the concept, I just did this thing. And once you have this guy, you can simply call your method, whatever you have, I mean, whatever you defined on that class, you can directly invoke that method. Yeah, I mean, there is no need for this thing. You can simply call, I mean, typically how you do for this class, when we did the Apex thing here, I think, yeah, if you see here, you define the class, I mean, you give the variable, and here you again give the same thing and brackets. If you do this thing, immediately it works, but just to show the difference, I called it, I assigned object, and so I use that typecasting. Same thing, basically. It's a different way of using, but sometimes you will see, I mean, a lot of times you will see these kind of things. I mean, not just to show the functionality. So, I mean, sometimes there are real business needs to convert these things from one object to another object. So that's where you have to use this typecasting. I mean, very commonly you'll see those things. So yeah, here there is a special type of object in Salesforce. Every table, every object that you create, I mean, account, contact, even custom object, everything, they call it as a subject. And I mean, I could have simply called this guy account, and I mean, that's how we did in the thing here. There was this guy. We don't need this guy. So if you recall data types thing, so if you see here, we created this dummy contacts, and for this guy, we call this list contact, and we assign that. I mean, we here this guy, so data type subject, I created an S object. I could have called this account itself here, and then I could have simply used this thing just to show how to use a subject. I'm using this guy. I mean, I showed this here. I defined a subject. I called a subject as a variable name, and I did the SQL query, and I got some value. Now I cannot assign a subject directly to account. That's why I'm again doing the typecasting, and then I use the variable. So that's how we can assign it. Yeah, I mean, you need to understand these concepts, but especially when you see a lot of lines of code, these things will throw you off. I mean, you might be wondering what's going on here. That's why I split these things into small. That way you'll understand things. You guys clear here with object?
Yeah, until we get used to this syntax and
Yeah, it's a matter of writing the code.
yeah.
You start writing, and once you start seeing the code, and once you start debugging some code, so slowly things will sink in. I mean, just to understand, okay, there is something called typecast, there is something called object, there is something called a subject. At least you will know, okay, I mean, if you see here again, the subject will have lots and lots of methods. And usually the subject thing will come if you want to write some dynamic apex. Those will come very handy. So the methods, this will act as a super method, I mean super object kind of thing. It becomes some inheritance. You don't need to, let's say you have to write some functionality that is going to be applied for all account, contact, I mean whatever the objects that you have in the system. And those are the times you use a subject, and potentially you make the code little dynamic, and you can call a subject methods to add a lot of value. I mean, you can reduce the code um, by lot. I mean, you can reduce lot of number of lines of code if you use some dynamic apex. I mean, you will slowly see it, or maybe you can even go through some documentation on dynamic apex. They will use these kind of things. You don't directly refer any objects. You basically use a subject, and potentially you will typecast those, and that's how you use the dynamic apex. So then let's see. Okay, so those are I mean, we have seen primitives. Then I mean, these are the main things in any code. You have to deal with list, map, and set. Let's go through these things.
So for all the scripts you wrote the Apex classes, is it, Shrikant?
I did not write Apex class. I mean, if you, anything that is Apex, that is
Apex is it a script? Okay.
anything that is CLS, that is class.
CLS
I mean,
class.
technically
Okay.
class, but problem with if you write a class, you cannot execute it directly. So you have to basically
Debug, deploy, I guess.
Obviously you have to deploy. I mean, class has to go into the arg. I mean, you by now you understand. I'm not executing. I mean, there is no way. If I remove this arg here, there is no way this code will work, because it has to have. I mean, that's where the cloud will come into picture. So even though we are writing the code on our local machine, it has to have a counterpart Salesforce arg for this to execute. So that's where all that computing will come.
Okay.
So now let's look at some of these lists. I mean, we already saw list, how we were using list. I mean, when we download, when we extract all those list of, where is this guy? List of, we don't need this guy now. Yeah, so when we wanted this,
Srikanth, just a quick thing, right? Going back to that script and class.
Mhm.
Script, when do you use, and
Yeah,
class
script,
when do you use?
script typically, let's say, I mean, even in production, you can write scripts and execute it. But I mean, that is very bad practice to use scripts in production. But in sandbox system, if someone asks you, okay, hey, can you just load maybe 10 users into the system, load 10 contacts into the system, or maybe change this value to, I mean, change this email address, or maybe set some value to this particular record. I mean, that's where you use Apex scripts. I mean, technically you can use data loader, but developers don't want to use data loader. They would actually write some scripts. And whereas the admins, the same thing, if they say, okay, hey, update maybe some flag or update some email address to dummy, what they can do, potentially they can extract the data into CSV, and they can add, I mean, write some small formula in Excel, add dummy to the email address, and then again load it back to Salesforce. That's what the admins can do. Whereas developers simply write small scripts, and basically on the fly they can do this thing. And if it is, okay, go ahead.
One other question, right? Like, so when you have to call scripts or execute scripts,
Mhm.
how do we do that? Like, just select it and then do it, or
Yeah,
is that how the developers do, or they write it from command line, whatever?
yeah, I mean, usually you can write it from here. I mean, you can simply execute it here.
Mhm.
But if you really want to execute from command line, there is a way.
Yeah, I don't want to deviate. Just wanted to understand, like, how it.
Good question. So I think for everything there is a multiple ways. I think we showed how you can call circle from the command line, right? So same thing. If you want to invoke Apex force, yeah, see this guy. You write. I mean, typically execute anonymous. I'm not very sure whether you can execute it like this. But if you have a class or something, yeah, actually here this is Apex execute anonymous only. All you have to say what is your path. So you here what you are saying -u is for the Salesforce alias name, the arg alias name here, and then this is the command. Basically, sfdx force apex execute. You have to have that guy, and then that -f. You are saying what is the path. So if you see again here, apex code file. So I mean all these things you can pretty much execute everything from
Command line.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. And class, you can either do it from CLI, but it's usually programmatically run, right? So
Class,
meaning,
yeah, class also you can run from here.
Mhm.
Um, typically classes, I mean, you can either you can call, I mean, you can also to call the class, right? So last time how we did, uh,
Right, right.
we had some, I mean, you had to invoke the class.
Invoke the class. Okay.
So last time what we did, basically we call this guy. Now if I want to call this class, potentially what I have to do, I have to use that, I have to go to terminal, I have to use the same command. And I mean, if you want to execute this guy, so potentially yeah, you simply copy this guy, sfdx execute, and -f is for the file. So you type this guy here. and then you need to get that path, and so you will say copy relative path, and if you give here, potentially it is going to execute this guy.
You just right clicked on data types and took the path, right? That's how it is, right? That's what you did, right?
The file, I went to the file, I took the
Copy it.
path, or
Right.
I can take the exact path also.
Okay.
So both will work. I mean, if you see here, it executed that guy, and the method what we wrote, so it was getting some records, and also it was doing some DML statement. That's what we did in the last class. This guy potentially, I mean, here we are retrieving the records, and here we are making a DML statement. That's exactly what it is telling. Okay, hey, you used a query, and that query has got you 18 records, and you made one DML statement. That's exactly what it is saying.
One last question, Srikanth. With respect, classes, right? These are usually triggered, correct? Like, you do an action, this class should be triggered, right? That's how it is, right?
Not really. I mean, right now, this class, it is not triggered on its own. The trigger mechanism is coming from this execute anonymous apex. Okay, so this is the one I said. Okay, in typical use case, there is let's say there is another use case that business will say, hey, since we are in sandbox, even if somebody is going to create a contact, and they say, okay, maybe Kishore Kati@gmail.com. Let's say that is your email. You are going to put that email while you creating that contact. Okay, but system wide, we say, okay, all the contacts should have the dummy email. I mean, dummy prefix on the before the contact email address. For that to happen, I mean, we cannot go run that execute anonymous or maybe something, right? So for that to happen, this class has to run on its own. So that's where the triggers will come into picture. So since you are updating a contact, so now we go to contact and we write something on the contact trigger. So basically Salesforce provides kind of a path into a way to tweak your code or invoke your code as the Salesforce is updating their functionality. So since you are updating contact, so you write a trigger here. In the trigger, you will call this basically this class. You will invoke this method, and every time a DML operation is happening on contact, so this trigger will be fired. And because we are going to put this class in there, automatically this method will be invoked. I mean, obviously you cannot directly call the class. You have to call the method of a class, and that's what we are going to put in there. And immediately every time a contact is created, if it doesn't have dummy, it is going to add dummy into that thing. So that's how I mean, we will see that thing in the next class.
Yeah, I got it. I just wanted to understand the flow,
Yeah.
like how it gets triggered.
So this thing doesn't work for scripts, is it? Like the Apex classes? You cannot have triggers for Apex classes?
We use Apex classes inside trigger.
Inside the trigger.
I mean, to see that potentially, I mean, how we are going to do, all we do is create, see here, create Apex trigger.
Okay.
So here we need to give the name of the trigger, contact trigger. You say that, I mean, default path, you select that guy, and it is creating some dummy thing. And now it is going to give you, so here it says a subject because that is generic one. Now, I mean, we have to update what object you want to fire it on. So we want to fire that guy on contact object. Now, all we have to do is we have to call this method, right? So now inside here, I mean, this is, I mean, just we are doing this thing since you are asking.
Yeah. No, but my question was actually you have so many Apex scripts, right, Shrikant? Like under scripts in Apex, you have so many of them. Are they also called as classes, or what are they just called as scripts?
Yeah, these are some scripts. They are not classes. Class.
Yeah. Okay. Classes are only CLS, .cls. Okay.
And, these guys, they are not on the org. If you go to the org, this instance, you won't see these things. But the
Correct. Okay.
guys, you will see it. And now, I mean, if we just add this contact, update this thing, update email. I mean, this guy doesn't have anything. I mean, we didn't write it the best possible way. So now, I mean, when we
Yeah, you don't have to execute it. But yeah, I think I got your answer. So these scripts are majorly to just use something like small functionalities and stuff, but whereas classes are more like they are more deployable on the org
Mhm.
side, I guess. Okay.
One more question. Both have to be executed on the cloud, right? Like, it has to go connect to the org and then execute, right? Be it script, be it class.
Yeah, the
No?
script, I mean, both everything will be executed on the server, but this guy doesn't need to persist on the server. So this guy has to persist. There is no way we can execute this guy if the class and trigger is not on the server side.
Meaning
You
it has
have
to
to,
be deployed.
yeah,
Yeah.
it has to be deployed. Otherwise, that guy won't be executed.
Okay, got it. Understood.
And this won't work, but eventually we will clean this thing a little bit.
I was just trying to connect. Yeah, it's clear now.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, slowly, I mean, everything is very logically done, right? Software. So I think eventually we'll connect all the dots. So that guy, I think we should be okay with these objects. What else is there? Okay, yeah, we are going into the list. So that, I mean, let's go through this um, list set map. I think we can call it a day. So list is very important, especially while you're writing trigger or while writing batch classes. You are dealing with, I mean, all the time in Salesforce, you have to assume that you are going to deal with a number of records, not one record. Okay. Uh, you have to assume that thing. That's how you have to write the code. And that's where, I mean, when you are calling, where let's say when you are extracting a number of object records, so that's where you put that list account and you call my contacts and then new list contact. That's how you create an object list. But here I'm just calling a string. So I mean, again, everything is same. The syntax is all the time same. Your data type, your variable, and you are going to call your instance. So that's how it is. It here, I mean, we are calling simply a list of string objects. Now here, basically, what we are calling the same thing here, but at the same time, we are going to assign some values. So creating I mean, defining a variable and assigning the variable at the same time. So then, I mean, if you really want to see the data, obviously that's what we are doing. And when we are creating a list, so list basically is a ordered collection. Whatever the order that you put in the data, it's the same order that it is going to retain. If you want to sort, you can sort it later. But if you don't sort it, basically it's the same order that you enter. And so now you can always, if you want to get anything, so you can use that index. And obviously, most of the softwares, when we talk about arrays, it starts with 0 number. So the colors 0, I mean, here we define the color, we assign yellow, red, green. And since we are calling the first index, it is going to give us back that yellow color, I mean, yellow string. And the same thing, I mean, here, that's what we are calling here. And then we, so here I sorted, basically I call the sort. And since we have yellow, red, green, so the green, obviously, since it has G, it will go into the first thing, and the yellow has to go into the last. So that's what we are doing. I mean, I'm showing a little bit of methods that we can use. I mean, this is a, since we defined list, so we are calling list methods, whatever that are there on the list. So this is a, this becomes a list, and whatever that are there on the list class, we can use those guys. Basically, if you go here, so list will have a lot of methods. If you want to add or if you want to get, so those are there are different methods that you can use, and the method there should be Apex class. Yeah. So now if you okay, it is taking us to the same thing. Okay. Yeah. So now you can assign some variable, I mean values directly. Yeah, here there are list methods. So what are the methods that you can use? So basically you can clone the list, you can clear the list. If you have another list, if you want to add to the I mean first list, you can do those things. And I mean there are a lot of, I mean if you want to get the size of thing, and if you want to sort potentially, there are all these methods. I mean we can use those guys. And also, I mean in the for the list you can also enter duplicates. I can enter, so now it goes by index. So index 1 0 yellow, index 2 red, green. Again I'm adding green. It doesn't throw any error, it will still show that one as another value. So yeah, so I mean it won't say, okay, hey, I found some duplicate or anything. It won't stop you. So yeah, basically we entered yellow green thing. So and then first record is yellow. That's what we are retrieving. And then we sort it. After sort, basically green becomes first. And then when you get the record, so obviously your first record is green. Earlier it was yellow. Now it is green. Yeah, I mean simple thing. So basically you will see. I mean you will be using at a number of places this list, and most of the time if you use, you might be using list account, list contact, those things. And once you have it, if you want to get some field out of it or something, so there will be methods, and then you can go to that particular record. And let's say if it is account, then you can do account, I mean account list dot whatever the name, whatever that thing. That's how you use, when you use a subject, that's how you use this thing. And that's exactly how we wrote our class also. I mean that's how we have a list, and we assign a list to a contact, and we are working on that individual record, individual a subject record. That's why we use contact dot email. Whereas here I was trying to type this. I don't need this. Yeah, here because it is one record. So now, I mean, since here we are doing, I mean, this is one record. Now, since I said contact colors 0, that becomes one record. And now I can call some variable names on that subject. I mean, if it is a subject. Okay.
So, Srikanth, so this one, the colors thing, right? It's an array of like, or a list of few values, correct? Again, you don't have to show me, but I just wanted to know. We can still say if you have to get the last value, right, or the first value, we can sort it, and then we can find the length of the list, pick the last one if you have to pick it. We can do that, right?
Yeah, so basically
Okay,
you need to start, right? So I mean, if you want to get last, if you want to get this, you don't know which one is the last. I mean, you just need colors dot size. You get that size, and
okay.
so potentially this is how you write colors dot get. And if you want the last one, you need size, colors dot size. Size will give you the number, but here the moment we say size, it is going to give you 3. But if you say colors dot colors
Minus.
it throw an error. So that's where you need this guy. and that one will give you number 2, and this is going to
index starts with 0. Okay, so got it. So get command is
basically for get you need to pass the index. So everything is
okay.
so it is array and 1 2 3 4, and you are just passing that guy.
So above, right, you have colors parenthesis 0, right?
Yeah.
You can write it as colors dot get of 0. I mean, you don't have to write it, but is that how it is?
Yeah.
The
So
equivalent?
yeah, that's what I wrote, right?
Okay.
So
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yep. Okay. I saw that. Sorry.
no. Yeah. So are we okay with the list?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think.
very straightforward. I mean, we use, I mean, ideally it should be logical to use with a subject, but since we already used in the class, I just thought showing with a different uh, data type. I mean, typically we use it, you can correlate this guy here, list contact, new list contact, you will give same data type, and that's exactly what we give. So same data type we give, and then based on the data type you can access the values. So next one is set. So list is unordered. Basically there is no order, but for set there is an order. And okay, set is an order, list, yeah, list is ordered one. So the way you entered, so it will go into the same thing. Set doesn't have an order, and it won't allow you to add duplicate values. And if you try to add same value, it will throw an error, or it will basically override the value one or another. Yeah, I mean, obviously list and set both will take all the you can write list, string list, integer list, a subject list, account contact. So basically that's what it is saying here. And obviously set is also very important one, especially in the triggers. Whenever we have to, I mean, the same trigger that we wrote, I mean, we are about to write. The reason why I said it is not going to work on the trigger here, we have to in the trigger everything will, whatever we update, the contact will come, and there is something called trigger context. We will see that one. It will pass a number of contacts that it is going to update. So we need to pass those contacts to the method, and we need to ask the method, I mean class, to work on those records, not query from the database or something. I mean, we can query from the database, but most of the time, first your starting point is what are the records that you want to execute on. So that's the one trigger will pass it to you. Let's say if you update a contact, that particular contact will come here, and we have to basically work on that contact instead of getting all the records in the database. I mean, that's how this class is written, but eventually we will adjust that later.
Do you mind me asking a question? Say, you mentioned that, trigger gets a trigger will be invoked when, say, on the contact, if somebody adds an email, right? And it calls the class to append dummy in front of it, correct? So if 100 people do it, like, say we have 100 users creating contacts. Um, every time somebody say they're doing it simultaneously, right? It 100 people are going to 100 times the trigger gets invoked, and the same class gets called, right? So will there be any issues, like, 100 people calling it, and each one doing a DML operation? Will it have more is it going to break the governor limits? How do we?
Yeah, so it's basically there is something called user context. When you are running it and I am running, I mean, let's say I think 5 or 6 of us are working on the same system. When we work on, even if we say, okay, everyone is going to create a contact, everyone will have their own context, user, that is called user context, and triggers will run on that session. Basically, I mean, there is something called session. for you on that server, there is a separate session. For others, there is a separate session. When you invoke, even though the same class is called, it is running for you and it is running for them separate session. Basically, there is no way one is going to interact with other sessions. Yeah, everything
Okay.
is going to work on their own
Session.
yeah.
But what about governor limits?
Because it is going to run on your own thing for everybody, every session. The governor limits will be applied based on the session, based on the user.
Okay. It's by session. Okay.
By session. I don't want to user context because sometimes trigger will run actually in the system context. Even though system is running in the system is running in, I mean, they call it as system context. I mean, you have to, it is all based on the session.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Rika.
Yeah. So again, set is more or less like same thing as list. The only thing is it doesn't take duplicates, and um, I mean, especially when you are working on some triggers, even though you have list, so typically you get a set and you apply that one when you are applying some where condition. You typically Salesforce doesn't allow you to use list, so they expect you to pass the variable in the form of list. I mean, especially in the collection scenario. I mean, list, map, set, everything is a collection. Collection means number of records. So when you are writing queries in where conditions and all, you are expected to use sets, not list. And the most, I mean, most likely you'll see all the methods and everything more or less similar for list and set. And the way you add an element and everything pretty much should be similar. So add a set element and here add list element. So more or less same. One doesn't allow duplicate, one is order, and then the other one is an order. Those kind of differences are there.
I actually have a question over here, Shrikant. So, can we all add the similar way that we did for list? For example, like get the socle and assign it to set?
Mostly when you are retrieving, it is, let me see.
And my follow-up question is more like, if the query is returning something like multiple values,
Mhm.
will it be, I mean, the error would be thrown while executing it, or right when we are, or like how,
Actually,
because set wouldn't accept.
it would take, I mean, you can assign it to a subjects also, but when you are retrieving number of records, I believe it is going to return only list. So, but once you get the list, you can assign the same thing to set.
Okay.
So we can quickly check that one. So let's say we have this guy. Let's take this same thing.
Also, I'm noticing that security enforced, which I did not notice on the last class. Sorry about that, but
Yeah. Basically, when you remove this guy,
uh-huh.
it is going to let's say, yeah. When I deploy this thing to server, it is going to see this swiggle thing that came back again.
Oh, okay.
Salesforce will say, okay, hey, you wrote some code.
Oh, okay. Which is violating. Got it.
That's kind of, I mean, that's why, sorry.
So do you get this kind of help in Google or something, like whenever something like this comes up and you can search in Google to write the
Problem with Google. So everyone you don't know whose blog you are going to run into, right?
Mhm.
And that is main problem. That's why, I mean, if you see these things, I mean, the editor is a lot better than Google. I mean,
Oh,
especially
okay.
because it is going to tell you what is the problem, and also sometimes it is going to, I mean, if you go here, it is going to tell you what you can do to avoid that one. See here, I mean, it is clearly selling
Good.
But if you take this guy, Google it, you don't know.
Yeah. Multiple would come up. Okay.
So, here basically it is saying, there is another squiggle here. The problem with this guy, what they are saying, so you are writing an DML, but you don't know whether this user has access to update this contact. Let's say I'm updating something, I'm writing this class, but we don't know whether, that's what they're complaining. You have to basically go check something, again, so this documentation, you notice all these things are happening because of that other extension that you wanted me.
Yeah.
Right?
PMD extension. Yeah.
That's the one that is doing, a lot of good job here. When you are writing code, the extension is telling you write some good code. If you don't have that, potentially you would be sending all this code to production. And here it is saying, okay, how to do all that stuff. Potentially there is something on a subject, is creatable, is updatable. There are some methods. We have to those things, and then we have to write basically here, see here.
Yeah. Just to make sure if it is.
We want to check those things and then call.
And then do an update. Yeah.
So going back to this guy, so we created a list of contacts. We retrieve the list of contacts. Now, if we say list, instead of list, we are going to say set. And set, and we can say new. Obviously, we have to use the same thing, new set.
Yeah.
And once we say that, now
My set equal to.
I think we can do this thing. Let's see.
Oh.
I believe it should work, but let's write. I believe there are some dummy ones. If not, we will see. We can adjust the query.
Okay.
So yeah, debug number.
Oh, great. Yeah.
It got us all those lists. Okay, so we have pretty much, we can interchange those things. We can assign set to list, list to set. But when we are writing some queries, it is not going to take a list. That's when most of the times you convert it to set and then you can write it, especially in where classes.
Got it. Thanks.
So that's a set.
Srikanth, just a question. You said list to set, set to list, right? You can, but list to set, it removes all the duplicates. But set to list, like, what benefit will we have?
Most likely the duplicate, it might remove it. Let's try.
No, list to set, yes, it's going to remove, but set to list.
Yeah, obviously once it removes, it cannot add it back. So this guy.
I'm just asking because will there be a situation? So I just wanted to understand if.
Yeah, once you convert it, obviously you lost it. I think you may not be able to get it back. You had to go back to list only at that time.
Okay.
But I think more like sets are used in triggers than our lists are also used in triggers.
When you have to retrieve, I think this guy, I believe if you say this thing, let's actually try this thing. If you create, yeah, let's instead of this guy, let's do one more thing here. My set 2, we call this guy set 2, and we will assign this thing. The return type of a SOCL is always list. You cannot directly do
assign it to set.
Most likely this might throw an error. Let's try.
Yeah, initially I was asking about this one actually. I did not.
So illegal assignment list to set.
Okay.
So return type of a SOQL is always a list.
Yeah, list of S objects.
But SOQL should always use a set. You can't use a list.
Sorry.
No, it's the
So
other way.
SOQL where condition. Let's actually frame
where
that.
condition, it should always be a set, right?
Yeah. Let's say
Okay.
we have this guy, and we want to let's say from contact we want to get some. Let's call list contact. Maybe let's call that guy, and this time we are going to call this guy my list where id in. So this is where that one will come handy, and my set to dot I think it needs I mean now this is a list. Okay, so my
I think you should do my set instead of my set too.
yeah, so basically my set will have a subject. It has first name, it has last name, it has email, and every time you call a SOQL, it also by default it will give you, it will add the ID also. Since you are querying an ID, so you have to say my set with the set, it will get you key. What is this thing? On set there is a separate, I mean special thing to get keys. I think there is one thing get maybe I may have it here. I think
So any SOQL query will return ID along with
yeah,
the parameters that we give, right?
I think it is key. There is something key set or something. It is anything. Should show my set.
I'm actually confused with my set two dot, because my set two is more like
Yeah, I mean
assigning.
it has all these fields within inside.
Uh-huh.
We are comparing ID value. Let's see the map. Let me just try this thing.
Get keys off ID or
No, you don't say that guy from set. I think it will or that is on the map. One or the other. Let me see this thing. Here. Yeah, we know this is a problematic guy. So we already saw that thing. Set. I think that is only on the contacts. Line 6, list contact, my list to select and where ID in, where ID in is. Let's do one thing. Yeah, actually key set, that's what it is. Yeah, key set. Okay. Basically, there is a list, and then they create. Okay, so actually they are converting into map, and from map they are getting the key set. Okay, yeah, we will cover that.
Oh, got it.
Oh, map is the one which holds the key and
Yeah, yeah. So,
yeah.
so we convert that guy. Yeah, we are going to see that in the when we move to the map. So yeah, so basically, I mean, what it is saying, so you cannot directly call the in commands in the where conditions. At that time, you need set. So in order to get the set, you use the map and you traverse a little differently. So we will see that in a bit. So from set point of view, are we okay? So basically, we add. I mean, there are methods to add and to get the values, and so everything works.
So over here, system.assert, it's not assert equals or something.
Yeah, I mean, you can use multiple things. So when you say system dot assert, there are multiple things, and also you can use assert equals. And so the thing is here, assert equals, you are passing two expected and
Yeah.
value, whereas here you are passing that condition. Potentially, you will say if you want to use this guy, you will say expected equals to actual. That's the condition here.
So
And
what will assert do when you just pass only condition?
so for this guy, so you are checking this. I mean, here, I mean, if you
No,
just
equals is fine. Just assert of condition. What will it do? It will only assign that condition or like.
no, it won't
Exactly.
assign condition. It just check the condition. So
Hmm.
here, I mean, what are we saying here? Assert equals. We are passing two values, and we are telling them, hey, check whether these two are equals or not.
Correct.
If it is false, we saw that it is throwing an exception. Here,
Exactly.
the same thing, the same condition, instead of passing it to two, the same thing here, if you want to write it here, expected equals to actual, and that's the condition you write in here.
Mhm.
And message you can give it as pass or whatever it is, right?
Yes, yeah, I mean, if you want, yeah, that's the thing that you will pass. I mean, if you want to write the same thing the other way, you would write system dot assert equal. I mean, now there it is condition, now it is equals. So here you will say my set contains one. So contains one some value. I mean, here I believe this will become, because it has some
New
content,
York.
New York. So you can say New York. Yeah. So if that one is New York.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, actually, my question is more like, why is this statement? I mean, what is the purpose of this statement? Like system.assert of the
Uh,
condition.
Yeah, I mean, they gave, I mean, maybe one time they must have come up with assert, and maybe
Okay.
it is all, I mean, they gave you, I mean, we have seen a new instance method. You give number, you give time. I mean, you can pass different ways.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah. So it's yeah, maybe I'm asking the same question. So if it contains what?
Yes.
If it contains New York, what?
He said, we said here, right? So we said something here, my set, and we said add one. So I mean, potentially add one is so this whole set contains, I mean, this set, I mean, if I write the debug, let's actually write that thing. So the set has 1 and 3 values. Okay, not New York thing. New York is set 1. Okay, this
Okay.
debug, and if I say my set,
Just my set.
and this one will have 2 values with this guy. We define my set, we added 1 and we added 3. So those are the
Okay.
2 values, 1, 3.
But I
Yeah.
think it should be New York space and then Paris, like because the second value is not set, right?
No, this one,
Set one, right?
see, this one is set 1. This is a different variable.
Ah, okay, got it.
Yeah, this guy. So now, I mean, now if we execute this guy, this one will show you that 1, 3 values. So your set, see this guy, it has 1 and 3, so not New York. So now,
Okay, got it. Okay.
so now if you say this guy, potentially it will say, because it has 1, it will say, yeah, your condition is right, and it will let you go through. So where is this guy? Yeah, so it didn't throw error. Now, whereas if you say number 4 here, obviously now it will throw error and says, okay, hey, I don't have that guy. And immediately you will run into an exception here. Yeah. So variable does not, okay.
No, I think you should have selected even the next before that.
Yeah, so now assert failed.
Okay.
Now this guy, I mean, this guy should work fine because assert equals. And I mean, this one has, actually this one is, my set contains 1, that becomes true, and this should be true.
Should be actual, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's fix this guy. So this one should be either 1 or 3. Actually, so this one, what is it going to give you?
That is expected.
Expected. What is expected? I mean, what is the return of this thing?
It is 1.
It is Boolean. See here.
True, right?
Going to.
Acha.
See,
Okay.
what you have in parentheses is the value or
Or the Boolean.
The return
yeah.
is that. See, now it executed without any problem. So the thing that it is doing, it is going to return a Boolean. This guy.
Contains 1 is a value, right? 1 is a value, right?
No, see, we are asking, okay, hey, set, do you have, we assigned 1 and 3. We are asking, hey, do you have 1?
Got it.
Yeah, so one is a value, right? 1 or 3 is
Yeah,
a
but
value, not
contains,
index.
dot contains is something which tells if it is true or false.
You clear, Kishore?
Maybe.
Yeah. So my question was like, 1 or 3. I'm getting confused with the index and value. So in this case, it's a value.
Yeah. So yeah,
Contains value 3.
Yeah.
It's not the index. Sorry.
I mean, if we had used the New York thing, it would have been clear. So here we will say New York, set contains New York. So then it is saying, yeah, I have it. That is Boolean true. And then your value had
Actually, is true. Got it.
I mean, some methods. If you want to remove anything, you can use that.
Okay. Otherwise, it is more like, I think in previous we saw my set of 1 and then comma New York. Like, or in this situation, instead of contains, like if I have to bring the value of it, then it is my set of 1, right? Or
Yeah. So
Square brackets and 1.
for this guy. So if you want to see the first,
yeah, system.assert.
okay, I mean, let's use this guy. So system.debug set 1. Sorry. So we need to get first thing, get. So now let's look at set thing. Set.
Can't we just put like list set 1 of 0?
I don't know the syntax. I'm looking for that thing. If you want to get anything there, so list has get method. Set doesn't. I mean, list has this get index, and set doesn't have that thing. Set you can come. You can looks like you can only use contains element. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, there's no index thing looks like. So
Okay.
no even get method in the set. Yeah, I don't see anywhere. I mean, they're only.
Yeah, there's only contents. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get some value now, you have to
Yeah. Don't worry.
assign it to list, and then I mean, I think that's what they may be doing. So let's say if I look for any get thing, there is no get here. So I mean, if you want to get some number, I mean, some index set, you have to assign it to list, and then you can get some,
Exactly. Yeah.
which is little weird. So
Mm.
the purpose is not like that, I think. I mean, for set, so it is a little different purpose. So I think so far okay with the set. I mean, even though it is little confusing, I mean, I want you guys to go through some documentation, then it will be clear. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The final one, map. I mean, you see this thing at so many places again in the code. This guy basically you pass two values for map. You can pass. I mean, here this is data type, so you can pass anything. You can pass object. You can pass index string. I mean, integer string. You can just treat two data types. You can pass for a map, and based on that you can give here. So, so here the way I framed it. If you want to get, if you want to prepare any key value pair, so United, I mean currencies, United States is dollar, Japan yen, India rupee. So if you want to get that set, you set these things ahead. And if you want later in your code, if you want, okay, hey, what is the currency of United States? At that time, you use currency, I mean country currencies dot get, and you pass that thing. When you pass the key, it will give you the corresponding value. And there will be functions. Let's say if you want to get all the keys and get keys, so that I mean key set, that is going to give you all the keys, and this one will give you United States, Japan, India. And if you want values, so values, and that one is going to give you all the values of it. And if you want to get one currency, I mean, you just pass the key and you will get that.
Can I do get of rupee also instead of India?
No, you need to pass key. You cannot get, if you pass rupee,
Cannot pass value. Got it.
the key.
Hmm.
So that's how you do this thing. I mean, again, another way of instantiating this thing. When you define a key, I mean, when you define a map, obviously this is the data type, your variable, and again, your same thing, whatever you will add here. Here you are assigning the values right here. Here you use put method to add one by one. And whereas here you are giving a key value pair. See here, this is one pair, A to B, C to D, and so here we are updating that to uppercase. I mean, if you want to do the same thing, here you would be doing potentially here United States, um, and then you use this arrow thing.
I think you have to complete the quote before.
Yeah, so you do that guy, and you again open this thing, and then you add
Dollar.
whatever that guy. So like that you will define and assign it at the same time. Whereas if you want to do it one by one kind of thing, so you can use that put. Put will add. For put, you need to pass the key value pair both.
So now you have, don't remove that. Like if you have this, and also you're on top of that, if you're adding put, can this country currency have 2 times of United States?
Oh, I think it only takes
One.
yeah, it is yeah, we can try. Most likely it will override that guy. Let's try this thing.
And
Yeah,
is it
if we
case
keep like
sensitive?
Sorry.
Is it case sensitive?
I believe not.
case sensitive to key and value, I guess.
Yeah, I think it will take it. Okay, map, currency, new map. I pass that guy, and I close that one.
Uppercase.
The problem here we
Is it
have,
because of the space after dollar?
no, actually this guy.
Okay.
So now we execute this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically it replaced that guy.
It replaced. Yeah.
It won't take, I mean, maybe if we try this way,
Yeah.
maybe it might take another entry.
Correct.
Another entry.
Yep.
Okay, so case sensitive. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't make sense now. Okay, so again, so this.
I guess over there it should be just the brackets, I think, right? After string. Yeah.
Now if we execute this guy, so I mean all of them should write to the console. So this guy, values, India, those are the keys, and
Keys. Yeah.
values and your map.
Is there an order that it is coming out?
It is actually doing the alphabetical order, right? It is converted, even though we
Yeah.
this thing. I mean, let's do. I don't think it will do, and I don't know whether it is adding the first one to the last. Let's start.
No, I think it is more like alphabetic order.
So now India, yeah,
Oh.
India, Japan, yeah, it is always, I think, based on the key. I think even earlier also it was India, there was that kind of put. Yeah, it is always, it is already doing some sorting.
Yeah, sorting on the keys.
I don't think I did any sorting here. It was all.
Yeah.
The map is a collection of key value pair. Single keys can be any data type. Yeah, and maybe it is sorting, I think. Okay, so we have seen, I mean, here basically the same thing. It doesn't need to be same string. We can use any combination, integers,
Yeah. Integer.
all that stuff. And here we are putting a few things, and we are checking contains key, and it is only going to check whether the key has the thing. And then when you ask for second entry, now it is going to give this second.
Yeah.
The collection. Okay, we covered these guys. Pretty much we covered everything on the data types. Yeah, pretty much that's it on the data types. We covered all the data types. I mean, pretty much. Yeah, so yeah.
Shrikant, like I mean, like you have these classes, right? Like now the scripts that we have that you have been showing us. Is there any way you can share those?
Yeah, actually, I mean, what I'm doing every. Yeah, let me actually show you. I mean, this is the thing I want you guys to comfortable with later. I am writing everything into GitHub, even the class, and I created one commit yesterday, and I was adding all these things into there. Let me go to my remote. So everything I'm writing, I put it on GitHub. And here, if you see, there is one branch. I mean, obviously, I did not create any branches. In real life, we will create branches. And if you see here, there are 3 commits. And I set this day 1 fx class. In the first class, these are the things that we talked about. Okay, we created one class, and we created one method underneath that. And we added, I mean, obviously, each class will have that meta class. And this is the other class. Now, what I'm going to do, I mean, since you asked, I will show you what how I am going to push these things. And this is how the source-driven development will work. And if at all any other developer has to work on top of what you have developed, and this is how it is going to work. Now we also added one trigger. We didn't talk much about the trigger, but I will commit all these things. So if you see here, this is when you hit this thing, I hope nothing will yeah, I mean, you should have this thing, but since you did not authenticate to GitHub and all, so nothing will happen at this time for you. And all these files you see, so I create, I mean, U means untracked. It is a brand new file, and this data types fx, this is the one I kind of added something later after I showed you after our last class. Okay, so that's why it is modified. And this class, I mean, I added another method. I mean, I did not show you this thing. Basically, this method, what it is, I mean, the second method here, all I'm doing is I wanted to play with the data. So first method, uh, if there is no whatever get me all the contacts that don't have dummy on it. That's what we are doing, and we are adding dummy. So, and now second method that I built, I'm taking all the dummy. So here it is not dummy, here it is dummy, and I'm taking those, and I'm removing the dummy from that one, and then I'm updating to the database. Basically, I'm doing the reverse work here. That's the method I built, and basically based on our business need. If you want to add dummy, you use that guy. If you want to remove dummy, this is how you do. Basically, if you see here, I'm using con.email. That is a string that is going to return a string. And now whatever the string class that is going to offer, all the methods we can use on top of that. So it offers uh, something called remove, start, ignore. So basically, since I want to remove dummy, I use that method and I pass whatever the string that I wanted to consider from that email address. I'm going to remove it. So that's the method that I built just for playing with the data. Okay. Now we have all these classes and methods and multiple things. Now all I have to do is now I will say day 2. This is a commit message and data. Or maybe I can even write what is this commit contains kind of thing.
So Srikanth, you just clicked on the icon where it says 9, right?
Not 9, basically this guy, this is a source control symbol. And I mean, the reason why it is showing 9, because I have 9 files.
9, okay.
Data types in detail.
And once you click on that, you get this bar where you're typing in stuff.
No, let's see actually. So a couple of things will happen. Okay, so everything, let's say whatever I modify, that one will come here. Okay, so this is our source file system.
Okay.
Everything that we are working on. Let me close all of this. So with a little clean. So now, I mean, this is the our files that we created. Okay.
Okay.
All these files, because I am tracking. This is called tracking, source tracking, and whatever I change immediately, those will be I can see it here. Once I have it, all I have to do, I have to stage these things. So these are the changes, and I may say, okay, hey, I don't want to send my trigger yet because I'm not quite ready with the trigger. We didn't talk about this. So let's say I select all of these and I will exclude this trigger thing. Let me see. I will exclude those things. I mean, these are all the things that we talked in the class today. Okay, now I will, so I will click this stage changes. So now it moved all those things into stage. Okay. So stage means now I'm ready to kind of, even though I changed the 9 files, I only want to change, I mean, these 7 files. Now I have to give a commit message. And this is the one that we will see on the GitHub basically eventually. So now I can click commit, Now it is going to, I mean, I'm on the master branch. So, I mean, we will talk about this when the time is right for you.
Okay.
I created a commit. Okay. That commit is in the local machine yet. So my local machine, I created a commit. Now you see here, there is one that can go out, and there is nothing that are there in the repository that I should be getting. Uh, so you can see those things here also. Now what all I have to do is I have to say push. When I say push, now if I go to GitHub again, so this is the GitHub, and if we go back to this thing, if I reload, see here, now there is a day 2 data types in detail. This is the commit message I put. And when I click on this guy, so basically all these things that we talked in the class, I will see it here.
Okay.
Now,
So
if I give you this guy, see, I mean, I made it public. You all should be able to access this thing. I think please see if you can access it. It should be public. I did not set any security on this thing.
yeah, Srikanth, when I know when time is right, show us like how you did this.
Yeah.
GitHub.
So no, I mean, all of you should be comfortable with this thing. I mean, unless you know how to commit this thing to version control, I don't think you can call yourself as a developer. So I mean, not only doing this thing, and especially in this time of time.
And you showed the two arrows thing, right? One with one and then arrow upwards, the other one zero with arrow downwards. One is to push. The ones we did were to push the code changes that we have into Git. The other one is to get from
No,
GitHub.
no, actually, I mean the arrows. If you see one arrow, I mean, maybe let's create one more. I mean, I stage this guy. Let me actually stage this one also. Maybe day 2. I staged it. I also need to create a commit message. Day 2. So, so now when I create a commit, you see here, basically everything is in sync now. The moment I create a commit, that commit is still in the local machine. So on my machine, it is creating a commit, and it is saying there is nothing that you need to get from the server in the sense GitHub now or repository. So
It's more like if somebody else's changes are pending, you
yeah,
want to get those changes.
another developer worked on it, and everybody is working on the same repo. At that time, there may be somebody that moved some changes. At that time, you have to push those, pull those changes from the repository. That's when you will see this thing. But since you made one commit, that commit is ready to send to GitHub. That's what it is saying here. What you can get from the GitHub,
So
what you can send it to GitHub.
yeah, so now you have like one and then an upward arrow and then zero for the downward arrow, right? So say assume that somebody else has changed even before you push it. Will
Yeah.
you will see instead of zero you'll see a value, right?
Yeah.
In that case, like how do you sync? Like first you'll have to get that code and then have to incorporate your changes into it, correct?
Yeah, technically you need to bring those changes first, and then there may be scenarios you and the other developer are working on the same file. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
you made a change, and they also made a change. Especially if you and the developer work on the same line, then there is something called merge conflict. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so now you are updating same line, they are updating same line, but if they are updating, they created new method, you created new method, that is totally fine. But those are the scenarios, the merge conflict will come, and the developer has to see, okay, then immediately it will show here what is the conflict. And now you have to remember, you have to decide whether to take their change or whether you want to override their change, or whether you want to keep their change and add your change to it. Basically, you will have three options. One, override them. Second, you ignore your thing and take their thing, or you keep their thing and also keep your stuff. I mean,
Merge.
so yeah, so those merge conflicts you need to handle. So now I'm sending one more. And now everything is in sync. So my local and the thing is all in sync. Now if you go back,
Though you commit it to GitHub, you'll still have your local copy.
yeah, I mean, I always will have my local.
Local
So
copy.
yeah, so these are all the commits that you can see. And I mean, that's why it is very important to have these commit messages, and you know what exactly you are saying. I mean, typically in enterprise level, you will have some Jira stories and all. You put that Jira story number and then message. That's how. I mean, if you are using Jira and if they did the integrations, immediately that Jira story, whatever you worked on, that story will show this commit number also on there. That's how you can simply see from Jira itself. If you want to navigate to GitHub or Bitbucket, it should be very straightforward. Yeah, I mean, the DevOps is very, I don't call it as complicated, but very interesting topic. But there is a lot to learn there. I mean, especially in the Git itself. I mean, I know only few commands that can do job for me, but there is quite a lot. I mean, especially for all these things, all these SFDX, CLI commands, and all those things. I mean, if you know all those things, it will come very handy. I mean, that's the thing on the first class when we were talking. Let me actually see if I can bring this screen.
So will you share access to this
I already shared that one.
on the first sorry, I missed it.
No, on the Zoom
WhatsApp.
chat, I put that one. Did you not get that? I thought I sent that one.
You did. You did send the GitHub.
See,
I think I wasn't there on the first class, Shrikant. So.
no, this guy. So this GitHub one is. Are you asking about this guy?
Yeah.
The GitHub link I just shared, and that
Oh,
is.
you just shared. Okay, got it.
Yeah, no, I did not show this GitHub thing in the last class or first class.
Oh.
Okay.
I just did that. I mean, I thought maybe how do I share this thing? Maybe thought I should use GitHub. That way, if you need anything later, also you can go for it.
Srikant, I think you shared it in the Zoom chat.
We are not on Zoom chat. We are not. We are on Zoom, right? Oh, you want me
Yeah,
to put on the?
yeah. I mean, like the WhatsApp would be.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can put that one in the WhatsApp. Oh, yeah, actually, that's better. This thing will go away right after some time. Let me add it there. Yeah, it's better. Actually, I will.
We'll have track. That's why I asked you to do.
Actually, this is better. Let me give you this guy. I mean, this is the main thing. So this is the repo. On the repo, let me go back. Salesforce training. Let me put this guy. So yeah, that's where all the work will be going forward. I will try to, I mean, commit soon after the class is over. And you should, you can go back. You can, I will not be using branches and all, but maybe one time we can go through these branches and all when we have time. But for now, since I am the only one that is going to work on this repo, I will just commit it to my branch and I will create commits. That way you should be able to go to commits and you can find these things. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to show you this thing. I mean, the first class, we talked briefly about these things. We wanted to cover Apex and we also wanted to cover Git, these things. I mean, we slowly started talking about CLI commands when Kishore was asking those circle, all those things. And IDE, obviously everyone should be using it. I mean, we don't want to use too much on the developer console. And these are the tools that you would be using, especially for extracting and maybe to do any integration kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, slowly we will do maybe a few things for the time. Yeah, as I said, I mean, the development use topic. I mean, not everything that I can talk in the class. Potentially, it's most of the time it's going to be you spending time reading documentation. But I mean, I can only guide you where to go, how to find information. Hopefully, that is very clear, I think.
Yeah, it is. That is very helpful. Would you also share the topics that we can, we can do, like just like the last class?
Yeah. Today, what did we cover? I mean, pretty much whatever I wanted you guys to do. I think that
Yeah,
I asked you to do.
the data types actually.
Yeah. I mean, I covered in the today's class. Hopefully, I mean, if you already read this thing by now, at least it should sync a lot better. If you didn't do it, I mean, obviously it may not sync everything right now. Maybe if you go back and read some documentation, it should sync.
Okay.
So.
If you don't mind, I wanted to share my screen to show you something on the.
Okay, let me make you present. Swati, right?
Yeah.
I made you present.
Okay. I'm not sure Shrikant over here. So, I mean, again, this is just the last class stuff, but this is my Apex script, and for some reason, and I have my class that we created last time. So when I try to, I don't see those, auto things. So I'm not sure what exactly I'm missing in the.
Go to command view control panel, that thing. No, view. Go to view.
View.
Yeah, on the top file edit selection, you see on the top. Yeah.
Okay.
And the command palette. You look for refresh. You tried that thing, right? Okay, you got that. I think you did it. So you recently used it. But the classes, why are you not? Okay, so I mean, you have that arg also. Yeah, did you deploy that class to your classes to server?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So this one is already on the server.
Open that arc.
What open the arc?
No, click on that monitor thing. Yeah, I'm sure. I think you must have. You did deploy. I remember. Yeah, you will right there. Go back. Let's see one more time. Do one thing. Copy that guy. I mean, at least I want to see one thing. Go. No, not this guy. Take just the class name.
Okay.
Go to your Apex. Yeah. Type. I mean, paste that guy and give some name.
Yeah, I tried this.
Okay, give that new instance and that stuff. I mean, ideally, you should be getting this one. Yeah, and put the bracket. Now use the UC dot.
I don't get any of this. It looks like there is some disconnect actually.
Okay. I mean, yeah, we need to Google it now.
Yeah, I don't know what basic part I'm missing.
I mean, a lot of things. I mean, that's where this IDEs mean, it can be depending on your Windows, I mean, versus this thing, and also the JDK that you installed on your thing. Yeah, one thing I can recall, go to settings somewhere. I think there is JDK. I think you need to set the JDK, proper JDK.
Also, I was seeing this. I don't know how much. So when I was doing this on the extension part, I was getting some Java related error.
That's the one I'm saying. So basically, you need to set which Java version that you want to use. Go to the settings. I mean, the gear icon on the bottom left hand side. Yeah, and settings. Type FX. Yeah, on the Java home right there, see that guy? No, on the right hand side, you see on the palette, say VS Code FX Java home. If you scroll down, yeah, not scroll, yeah, right there.
This home.
Yeah, so basically that's where it is saying your path. So now you need to find your path. I think it is taking, I believe that is library Java thing, that is Mac path. Are you using Mac?
No.
Let's get your Java path. Can you Google for Java
Windows?
path? Yeah, it is usually C, Windows or program something. And I think we also need to, yeah, let's do one by one. Yeah, Windows Java home, yeah, path something. Yeah. Actually, on the VS Code thing also, it must have said that path setting thing. Yeah, C program files. Yeah, let's go to that path. Open that path. C program files. Can you navigate that one instead of running? Go to file system. Yeah, see program files.
I don't see that over here at all.
You should have Java, or if you don't have, I think you may have to install Java also.
Okay.
Go back to that VS Code installation thing, the instructions that I sent. Google one more time, VS Code install.
Okay.
Almost.
What is this? So you know where the summer spike is?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, go to the link. Yeah, I think I see it. Third one, code dot. Yeah, above. Yeah, that guy. So here they must be talking about some Java path also. Let me try.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure there is a Java missing. That's what.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go over then.
It should be VS Code Java Windows. Maybe once you have that thing, I think even you will get that execute anonymous, all that stuff.
I think so, yeah. I'll check at my end. Thanks, Shikan.
Version. Java. I think I found it. Java setup. Yeah, I think you need this link. Let me.
Is this
file preferences setting?
Oh, getting started with Java.
Try this guy. Try that link. Where is? I think you need.
Okay.
So you, I mean, navigate to, I think
I'll prefer this setting.
yeah, I mean, you don't want to install Java 17. On my machine, I have basically Java JDK 11. I think that's what I have. If you scroll down, there should be the Java links, or maybe you can even Google JDK install or something.
Mhm.
That one will, this Zulu thing you see here, they're installing the latest thing. LTS is latest, thing, so that one Java 17. Some
Mhm.
some features won't even work properly with the latest one. I think Java 11 is the one I use. By default, most of the machines will have Java 8, I think. So
Okay.
if you go down, yeah, I think any of those links will take you to at least to the main thing.
Okay.
And no, you cannot.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically the
So do you mind if I use the Java 17? I don't want to use, is it?
no, just go to Google and try Java. I mean JDK 11 like something.
Okay.
I mean, I'm using JDK. I mean Java. I mean that 11 version. I think. I mean, I'm using Mac. It is working okay, but even when I was working on Windows machine, I used to use the JDK 11. So that's why. I mean, the 8 definitely works fine, but I think
Okay.
11 is preferred one.
Okay. All right, Shrikant. I'll keep you posted. I don't want to.
Yeah, it should work. I mean, once you install that thing, go back to that place and you have to tell where your Java path is, and
Yeah,
it should work seamlessly.
got it. Okay.
Srikanth, what about the next class? And we have a long weekend coming up, right? So what is the plan?
I don't have any plans. I mean, we can definitely meet on Thursday if you guys are free. What do we want to call? Maybe we can cover something on the trigger in the next class. I mean, are you guys? I mean, if you guys have plans, we can regroup later. I mean, the only problem right now, I have some time now. That's why when Sampath asked me, I mean, he was asking me for a long time. I was little busy. I couldn't spend time. Since I thought I had some time now, I can spend. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have little things going on, so that's why. I mean, when I have time, I would like to continue some classes. I mean, if I get busy, we may have to postpone these things for, I mean, indefinite time. That's why. So,
Yeah.
what about Thursday? Is Thursday would work everyone for everyone, or
Yeah, it works for me.
I mean, I don't want
Yeah.
to post anything. So if you guys are, I mean, especially I don't want to run classes when you guys are not available. Um, if you think not a good idea, maybe you guys are going somewhere, we can postpone those. And Sunday class, maybe we can take it easy.
Yeah. Thursday, I'm available too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tomorrow definitely. I mean, I have a few things going on. I cannot attend tomorrow. I mean, I cannot do anything. Thursday for sure I can do, as long as it works for you.
Thursday works as long as the team is okay.
Yeah, I'm fine too.
Yeah, let's meet Thursday. I mean, most of the time, as you can see, I'm just guiding you guys. I mean, end of the day, you need to put effort. Triggers also, I will briefly cover a few things, and slowly. I mean, once you understand the concept, writing code won't take. I mean, it's not a big deal. If you have a lot of time, I mean, you will be able to refer documentation. You will be able to write that stuff. I don't see any problem. I mean, if you don't understand what the concepts, that's where it gets tricky.
Can I just ask how long will this take, Shrikant? Like, I mean, I know we are deviating a lot, I guess, but
You're not deviating. I mean, I don't know because I am not very well prepared. I mean, especially when we were doing developer training, at least I had something in mind. Okay, these are the topics I wanted to cover. I mean, I wanted to cover at least the trigger part, and then I mean on the server side code, if you talk, maybe potentially I can cover triggers next class, and then we need to do those batch classes and all. So those things. Maybe one day or 2 days that I might need to cover those batch classes and all, and the queuable, all that stuff. And then maybe we need to talk about some integration scenarios. That is another class potentially. That's 4 classes right there. 2 for trigger, 1 for, one for trigger, 2 for batch classes, and maybe 1 for callouts and those stuff. I mean, with that, I think potentially the main Apex development will be complete. That is only on the server side. Now, if you guys are interested, potentially we may have to start something for LWC. I am not very well versed with Aura components or Visual Force, as I said. At least I have decent knowledge on LWC. I can guide you with LWC how to write some code on the client side. Maybe
Srikanth, for LWC, right, you'll guide it, but is JavaScript is a prerequisite, right?
yeah, I mean,
Huh?
if I ask you, I mean, don't get me wrong. If I ask you, do you know Apex? Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, you don't know Apex.
Yeah.
And we can go with the same mindset for LWC. I mean, I may not be able to explain. I mean, I don't know whether I'm doing really good job. I may not be able to explain it as detail as I'm doing it here because I myself learned JavaScript just last year. Uh, that also just LWC part of JavaScript. I mean, JavaScript is very huge. Apex is very small. I mean, that's how I see. And that's why I believe in the software world, the number of jobs that generate, I mean, JavaScript generates the most number of jobs. That's what I heard. And very, very hard skills out there in JavaScript.
But is it just because we're talking about JavaScript, right? Is there? So you said for LWC you learned JavaScript, right?
Yeah, LWC.
Is it? I know JavaScript. I'm not aware of JavaScript. So if it's huge or vast, is there a portion of it that we should be focusing?
I went through one YouTube series. I think I told you when we were
Yeah, you told me about it.
just one YouTube series. I think maybe 10 hour. I mean, some Australian Indian dudes did that thing. I mean, just because of that, I completed my certification. I mean, there is a lot of content out there. It's a matter of finding who is the right guy, who is going to give you content that you are able to digest. I mean, there are some nice speakers and all, but they may be explaining things maybe way over our level. I mean, just finding that right guy on some blogs or anything that, I mean, that's where that this whole thing. JavaScript definitely there are very, very nice courses out there.
One more thing. So again, I'm not into JavaScript at all. Server side JavaScript, is that separate, or if you learn?
And yeah, I don't know any server side JavaScript. I mean, I did little bit of things on the Node.js. That's what server side thing. But it is very, I mean, very hot actually. Node.js. That is also very highly demand skill. I mean, we won't be doing that one that much at all.
Okay.
And there are some things Node. I mean, Salesforce has something called functions and all there. You can, I mean, if you want, you can really write it. But I mean, there is quite a lot that you can learn. So there is no end basically, and especially with Salesforce now, they are entering each and every area. I mean, if you want to get into e-commerce, those things, potentially these skills, you might need these skills.
Yeah, the only, I mean, like I spoke to you before, right? Like, SFDC, sorry, not SFDC, SFMC,
Yes, sir. Let's see, what is that?
Marketing Cloud.
I have zero
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, I was like,
I-
talking to people about it, and they were saying like it requires. I mean, like it doesn't. Apex is not required for that. It's totally different, is what I was told, and they were telling me that it requires AMP script and server side JavaScript.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I never looked into it. I mean, actually, one of my colleagues asked me whether I have any interest. I said, I mean, I don't want to put in any effort in that thing. I would rather put in into e-commerce thing if at all I have any chance.
okay, so that's hot, right? And you
I
have
mean,
why
it is not quite hot yet.
it
I mean,
would become.
the way Salesforce sell, I mean, Salesforce is very, very good at selling their software. I mean, their
Mm.
folks are too good. I mean, they can sell any, I mean, stupid software to even big enterprises. They are that good. I mean, once any company buys it, there is no way they have to implement. I mean, it's all they have to hire all the developers. I mean, on top of what Salesforce has done, potentially, I mean, they have to make it work. That's where all these developers will come into picture, and I'm hoping it is going to be very hard. So,
and 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 that e-commerce cloud that you're talking about, that still uses Apex and stuff, right? That we're
on the server side, yeah, still, I mean, they use LWC, they use, I mean, they have to use JavaScript and all. I
okay.
mean, somehow or other, I mean, it is their platform, so they will make sure uh, they have some space for Apex. Yeah, I mean, all LWC, there is no way it can go away because it is built on JavaScript thing.
Okay. I think it took a lot of time, a few years.
That's totally fine. Yeah, I think let's catch up on Thursday. Let's go through some trigger stuff.
Yeah,
And
if the team is available on Sunday, you guys can carry on. I might not be available. Um, and if you are available, yeah, obviously.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
I'm not available on Sunday too. So,
Yeah,
but maybe Shrikant, like, I mean, if you think right now we are just doing alternate, right? If you think maybe if we have to do daily.
I mean, I'm also preparing to come to this class.
Got it. Yeah.
So I might need some time.
Yeah. Sure.
I mean, it doesn't take much time, but I have some other commitments. I might.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's the reason I was just checking, like,
Yeah,
how
I mean,
many classes are you planning to take and how many,
yeah, I mean, let's see. I'm hoping maybe 6, 7 classes developer training. I think I can cover the basic Apex thing.
Okay.
We will see on the client side what we can do based on your interest and other stuff.
Okay.
And in order to get in to any job, we need both, right? Like we can't just survive or move ahead with just knowing Apex and not knowing LWC or anything. That
You don't need again. You say, okay, I only know Apex. I mean, you can still survive. Um, not every customer would be doing LWC and all. So
okay.
So
mean,
is certification like, which would be helpful to get into the things like.
definitely speak for you. I mean, if your resume need to be picked up, I think it is the easiest thing. I mean, if you show one certification, especially developer one, that definitely helps. I mean, when you have 5 resumes, I mean, if they don't have time to talk to all of you, I mean, if I have to interview, I would say, okay, at least let's take this developer one certified resume. That way, that gives little more confidence, right, for everybody to spend time. I mean, they have to talk to you, interview, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would say when you are working on Trailhead, definitely complete those things, get some points, get some badges, put those into resume. They are,
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure they are very valuable. I mean, I would look at those things. And I don't know, Swati, whether you already worked somewhere.
Um,
Some experience definitely will help. And, I mean, if you don't have experience, at least certification and the other stuff will definitely back you up.
yeah, so my thing is I'm actually a developer, so all the code that we are talking about, I'm a .NET developer, so I'm aware of C# and all the JavaScript and stuff like that. But the topics, the new thing for me is more like, why do we have scripts? Why do we have classes separately? And how you were also talking about the multi-threading. So I can actually correlate the topics to what I,
Everything should be same, right? I mean, I used
yeah.
to work with one colleague. I mean, he used to, I mean, when you say MVC, I mean, I'm sure you know MVC.
Yeah, I know this.
Whenever they say it, I mean, he always says, I mean, this is 10-year back conversation.
Yeah, okay.
Talent, I mean, that I have ever seen. And I mean, he's like, man, wow, what is there? I mean, this is different syntax. That's it. I mean,
That's it. Yeah. Honestly, I'm looking at the same way. Like when you were talking about LWC. In fact, when we were talking, I was just Googling what it is because I'm very much new to the terminologies.
yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, like JavaScript, and as Kishore was mentioning, like any language is more like,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
honestly, I mean, I am afraid of code big time. So luckily, I don't have to write a lot of code when I'm on my job. I'm based on, I kind of do a little bit of architect work at on my job. Uh, I, I do a lot of POCs just to prove the concept, saying, okay, hey, this works. You have to go this route, kind of thing. I mean, I used to do a lot of development, but I'm not doing a lot of development like production ready development. I don't have to do. But I'm little afraid to write code. But I mean, there is no way we can survive without. I mean, especially if you call yourself as a technical person, you have to write code either based on your role. If you are a developer, maybe production ready code. I mean, it is not a big deal. I mean, there is a lot of resources available. I mean, Google, as long as Google is there, we should be able to survive.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I love to write code and stuff, but
Yeah.
I think I'm more here to learn how these can be implemented. Like, especially when you were saying like deploy the class and stuff like that. So those are the things which I'm more interested in.
Yeah. So hang in there. I think we will go through a lot of stuff. I mean, hopefully some useful stuff. I mean, you can always correlate the things. I mean, it shouldn't be anything quite different than other softwares. And simply, I mean, in my opinion, I worked in SAP, so this is the easiest thing that you can ever work with.
Got it.
Especially
But
when
yeah, you're doing great. Thank you so much, actually.
no problem. Yeah, thank you. All right, so we can meet on Thursday.
All right,
Okay.
guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Good night.